Hi everybody, it's Friday afternoon and I just want to make a short summary video of the classes that we've had over the last week or so. I do so because with a snow day, with a remote day, the weeks have been somewhat discombobulated, and I want to make sure everybody had an opportunity to hear from me the key concepts and the key essential points that I wanted to make sure that we all were clearly understanding before we move more deeply into our study of history. In the first class presentation that I am going to share with you, we looked at the essential concepts of our study of American history. The second class presentation that I will prepare a separate video for you is we talked about the introduction to the major theme of one of four major themes of our study, and that is the pursuit of equal protection and equal rights. I will send that summary video to you in a separate YouTube video. But going over quickly the main concepts, I really want to make sure that you're aware of and that you understand. The first is we're going to use the approach that we're going to look at current points in history, such as the inauguration of President Biden, the Black Lives Matter movement, the climate change, the COVID-19 virus, the relationship between Russia and the United States and China, our interest in the Middle East, issues that are now going on in terms of equal protection, fair treatment of all people here in the United States by zeroing in on issues that affect our lives today. But in order to fully understand the issues that are in the news today, we must go back historically to figure out what the root of these issues are, because we really can't truly understand them and then hopefully work on them and deal with them unless we understand the background. So instead of going back into history and doing chapter 1 and 2 and 3, we actually start at the end of where we are at right now and then work our way back to discover the pathway to the events that are occupying our life today. It's more relevant for you. It helps you understand what we're dealing with today. And along the way, you learn about the history of these events and about our country. There are 3 guiding quotes that I want to share with you. Can we tell the truth in our study of American history and how we arrived at that moment? That is critical to a truthful understanding of American and world history. Do we have as a country the moral stamina to work hard enough to surrender the comfort of our lives? That is, oftentimes we tell ourselves things, we spin things in our minds to make us feel comfortable about what we personally do, what our country may have done, events around us, decisions we make, we sometimes spin to make us feel comfortable. Are we willing to go out of our comfort zone and really surrender that comfort and examine the true nature of how we got to 2021? And the last one, and I'll just move this picture a little bit so you can see it. There we go. An invented past can never be used. We must excavate, that is, dig up and examine the true history of our country. We can't really have a solid course in American history unless we discover the true past, an invented past, a past that has been airbrushed or sanitized to make us look good, can really never be a true study of history. So that's another quote that will guide our study of American history. Then I used a term called flip the bug. Come on, you can say it with me, flip the bug. That is, above the surface, we know historical events and people who have made history. We know about the Vietnam War and World War II. We know about 9/11. We know about different civil rights movements, We know about COVID-19. That's all above the surface. And we can study the events themselves, which we will do. But more importantly, we're going to flip the bird. We're going to go deep into, do a deep dive under the surface, again, to determine the pathway, the agendas, the motivation for getting to the point of where we are today. We're going to flip that bird. We're going to focus on what's under the surface. Okay? Now, what is history? History is a series of short events woven together. The stories being woven together like a tapestry, if you do painting by numbers, you're painting each thing by numbers and you weave it together, it gives you a picture of history. So we're going to take a look at historical events, and the way we do that is through historical evidence. Historical evidence means anything to do with that can shed insight into what we're studying, whether it be a document or a video or film or art or music, whether it is dance or smell or an interview or a conversation, journals. That's all historical evidence. That's how we tell the story about history. Short stories woven together to present insight into a period of time, told through the use of historical evidence. And then I give you some examples of historical evidence. We have art and photographs. I give you an animated map. This is a map of air flight over one 24-hour period, and I'm asking you to interpret it. What does it tell about our global community? We look at comparisons between old artifacts and new, study the history between the old iron steel typewriter and the new electronic. It's sort of emblematic of a lot of things in our world today, going from the old heavy steel and iron mechanical tools that we use to conduct our work to the more modern light plastic and electronic tools. We look at movies and videos that aren't intended to teach us about history, but if you look at them closely, they do. We looked at the film clip out of the Titanic, and by studying the background and what was going on in that ship, it really gave us a great picture of the industrial era. The steam engines and the coal and the new technology and the ships made out of steel rather than wood, and the speed of these ships. This phase of the industrial era actually leads to World War I, global conflict. And then songs and videos. This video of Glory, sung by John Legend, with a video background of the Civil Rights Movement, and the words of the song and the voiceover, really give us a picture of the late 1950s, early 1960s Civil Rights Movement. And then in the final couple of pieces of historical art, we look at clips of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. It tells us a lot about the progress or lack of progress of the Civil Rights Movement. And then we listen to the poem of Amanda Gorman, who gave a beautiful poem at the inauguration of President Biden, and tells us a little bit about civil rights, the chaos, the divisions in our country in 2021. Now, this is all interpreted by the lens in which we look at the world. And so we had some great discussions about looking at the same piece of historical evidence, the issues of the day, and how people perceive things differently, how people, depending upon their education and experiences, look at things differently. So that's the class presentation. And remember that that these are all matched into, let me show this to you. This is all matched into the organizer, which is your part of the work. I give you my thoughts and my notes in this column here, and then I ask you a focusing question. And I do that for every slide. I try to make sure that I share with you my thoughts about every slide, why I've included it, what I mean by some of the terms I use, but then I want to personalize it to you by giving you what I call focusing questions. They're not a right or wrong. They're not a yes or a no. There's no length requirement. It just gives you an opportunity, number one, to share with me your thoughts. It gives me a sense about how engaged you are, and it gives me a sense how effective I am in conveying my message to you. So each one of these has my thoughts and then ask for a little bit of your thoughts. Okay? So hopefully this review was helpful. I know between quarantining and snow days and remote days and A and cohort B and cohort C, and I try to live stream things to you, things may not all come together, but I thought this video would help you. I'm available for any questions. Email me over the weekend. I'll see cohort A on Monday, cohort B on Tuesday. Cohort C, you can check in with me anytime. The classes are live streamed, and we'll make this all work. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.